Welcome to the second of a three-part series with Amir Hassan, CEO of Minicabit, where we're going to discuss the world of aggregators, which is one of the fastest growing and important services changing the way taxi and private hire companies operate. In the second part, Amir discusses how do aggregators work with existing dispatch systems, what are the costs involved in becoming an aggregator, exactly who pays for what, and how quickly can a participant expect their listing to go live. How do they actually work with existing dispatch systems? Because obviously these are already in place. Has to be some level of complexity there, surely.
So the biggest dispatch systems, be it iCabby or CabTreasure, are opening up their systems so that a booking that comes through an aggregator can pop straight onto the screen for a controller, so that they don't have to see the booking on an aggregator page and copy and paste it. So definitely that process is a lot slicker. And what we've done at Minicabit, we recognise that there are still a lot of fleets out there that may not have a dispatch system at all, or they might have a not so sophisticated one. So we've actually built on our website the ability for a fleet that has no system at all to enter all their pricing and availability information, their driver information, and they can alert a customer as to who the driver is for free through our system. So and what we expect over time is more and more dispatch systems will open up so they can work with aggregators, and the information you'll be able to pass to the customer will be much richer. So the customer will be able to see the location of the driver. If the driver's changed, they'll get the latest contact details. They'll be able to rate the driver, and so on and so on.
Okay, and what sort of costs are going to be involved if you're putting this aggregator system generically into organisations? Is there a model over who pays for what?
Yes, so aggregators across lots of different sectors have a variety of models. So some will just charge for a listing for their supplier to present their service to the customer. Some will actually take a commission on every booking. Some might have a hybrid of both. In our view, a good aggregator is one that doesn't necessarily have to charge for a listing, because it shows confidence that they can bring enough customers and be able to run the business from the commissions that they generate on a per booking basis. And also it's a much easier proposition for the cab company, because they're only paying for a guaranteed booking. And if you think about it, a lot of the other alternatives that a cab company has, which is paying up front for lots of door drops and advertising, that doesn't come with a guarantee of bookings. And so a good aggregator should be able to work on a commission basis.
We have an issue, I think, with the Just Eats of this world, where they're eating into the profits of the people that are operating takeaways. Is that an issue in the industry at the moment with the way the aggregator models are operating?
I would say that if you look at the expenses that a supplier, in this case a cab company, incurs in running the business, so the cost of advertising and finding a customer, the cost to manage any quotes that they have to give out to them, so that they probably have to pay a controller to man the phone, and perhaps for every 10 phone calls, one might lead to a booking. If there's any payments, then they'll have to invest in all that infrastructure to be able to take payments. So in most cases, aggregators absorb all those costs themselves, and so for the provider, it should be a case of any of the normal costs that they'd incur would just be replaced by whatever they pay to an aggregator. And that's certainly how we've modelled our business. It's not in an aggregator's interest that if they're eating into the full profit margin of their providers, and to a point that those providers can't survive, then you won't really have anything to aggregate, right? So it is important that where the aggregator is adding value in providing those services. It is replacing the cost that the business would have otherwise spent on that. But in terms of, should it touch the cost of the core cost of the service, which is paying the driver and making sure that there's enough margin for the cab operator to survive. If that's happening, then then I don't see that being viable. And actually, I think in most cases in the cab space, in the cab industry, I'm not seeing any aggregators who are being overly aggressive, to the point that they're trying to screw down their businesses on cost. And the other thing I used to hear way back is there was a kind of conspiracy feeling, shall I say, rather than a theory, that a lot of aggregators, they're getting to this game so that they can set up their own fleets down the line. And I don't see that being viable. If you look at Expedia, they don't run their own airlines. Just Eat doesn't own its own restaurants, and it's because where it really works fantastically well is where each party knows what they're good at. And so, Expedia focuses on finding and acquiring customers and servicing them, and obviously all their travel providers focus on the travel experience, and I see that being the same scenario in the cab.
This market's changing very fast. What about the need for speed? And you had a recent article, I think, called Speed to Market. What are the implications for people wanting to get on board? How fast can it happen?
Yes, so a good aggregator should be a well-oiled machine, to the point that, so in our case, a cab provider who signs up today can be live on our service within as fast as a couple of days. We need to obviously have essential details like a copy of their operator license, and we need to make sure that the team and the business are ready to take on bookings, and that pricing and everything else is set up right. But it can be as fast as a couple of days. If it takes a lot longer, then then something's perhaps not right. And I think the other thing is, right now we're in peak travel season, and the last thing we want to do is to stop cab companies coming on board. In fact, the big opportunity that we have, and sometimes it is a bit of a challenge, is it's not actually customers. We have actually over £10 million of searches, of fares are searched every month. And we just don't have enough cab suppliers around the country to fulfill that. So that's why our focus has really been on making sure that cab companies can come on board effectively.
Is there a lot of variance in aggregators' speed of getting listings live, or is the way that you're operating pretty much the industry average?
No, so I'd say, so there are some aggregators who will only work with you if you have a dispatch system that they integrate with. So that's only, that cuts off, that only really focuses on the biggest fleets in the city. Whereas in our case, if you have a dispatch system, that's actually quite secondary. You can actually come on to our platform, get bookings, and over time, if it makes sense for you, then if you want to then integrate with your dispatch system with us, then that can be a secondary step, but it shouldn't be a blocker.
Thanks for listening, and in the final part of this series, we'll explore how different is the use of aggregators from that of ride-hailing apps. What effects are apps in general having on the London market and in the UK in general? And given the takeoff of aggregators, how does Amir see the future of the taxi and private hire industry? So subscribe to PHTM Podcasts on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or wherever you're listening or viewing to get all our latest episodes with the people who are shaping the future of the private hire and taxi industry. And if you're an expert in the industry and would like to be part of future podcasts, contact us on 0161 688 7777 or email info@phtm.co.uk.